Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for clicking on. It is DUFUS After Dark for Tuesday, the very last day of January, the first month of 2023. And thus far, it seems to be scooting by rather quickly, even though we've got some incredibly cold weather. Um, it is 20 degrees where I'm at the moment, a balmy 20 degrees. It is up to 20 degrees as we started today much lower than that number. And again, thanks for clicking on. It is our Science and Faith Tuesday, and we'll get into that coming up in a little bit. We'll touch on some news, and we will touch on the weather. Hello, Dinker Bell. Nice name. Hi, Bunny. Hello, LaPrue. Hi, Sissy. Mater, running my AC. Yeah, some places it's not 20 degrees, and I'm good on you. Good on all of you that are somewhere where it's halfway warm, because it is not warm here at all. Yes, Sissy, thank you. Hit the subscribe, like, and share, please. Hit that like button. People forget to do that, and that really does impact the algorithms. So they tell me anyway. Um, yeah, you guys in the South, Alabama is warm. Not the case here, but again, I hope it stays that way for y'all. I really do, because well, let's just take a look at the weather map here to start things out. And come on, there we go. This is National Weather Service. Let's see if I can. There we go. Get a little bit. So everything's pretty good on the West Coast at the moment throughout the bread basket. And line coming up from Texas. Memphis getting hit pretty hard. Nashville getting pretty hard. And I'm trying to see if this is ice or just rain. And okay, there we go. There you see the warnings. There you see the warned areas. Whoop. Gee whiz, this thing is touchy. There you see the warned areas. This is current. Now, this is as of right now. Again, from the National Weather Service, as it's happening, so to speak. So this is not a future cast or anything. A lot of cold weather, and the area back here, a lot of cold weather, and I don't need a map or the National Weather Service to tell me that. That's what is happening right now. So if you're in one of the areas, as I am, where it is chilly, bundle up. I am bundled up. It is cold here. You can't. I mean, I'm not in a position. I don't have a wood stove. I can't just throw a log on the fire. And I'm on a relatively fixed budget, so I can't just crank up the heat. The only alternative in those situations is you bundle up, and you bundle up and soldier on. That's what we're doing here. So again, thank you all for being here. It is 10:05, 31st day of January, and we're going to get to a lot actually. Science and a little bit of faith. It's 18 degrees there. Always be kind. Thank you for being here. Hi, Cunning Stunt. Tomorrow night, Cunning Stunt and GA from CA, as always, on our Wednesday nights. Always look forward to having those ladies on here. Yes, I was going to say something and I stopped myself, and probably rightly so. have some hot tea. Thank you, Lord, but I'm not a tea drinker. I've never been a tea drinker. I'm not a tea drinker. I'm not a coffee drinker. So yeah, for a lot of you, I may, makes you even more of a weirdo. Yes. Okay. I'll go ahead and say it. I was hoping that GA and CA would be here as they normally are, that Lori hadn't scared off Cunning Stunt in Lori's chat the other day. Oh my gosh, chats. I talked about chats a little bit last night and how important chats are to, especially long live streams, when you're out live. They're important to every channel, in my opinion. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And, the significance of chats, okay? There will be times that there are people in a chat and they are fighting, but they're not fighting with the people in the chat they're in. They're fighting with people in another chat on another channel. I'm serious. Now, most of you might go, "Oh, no, come on now." Hey. And if I'm wrong, somebody in the if I'm wrong, somebody in the chat will correct me. And if I'm right, somebody in the chat will go, "Yeah, that happens, and it does. I witness it happening, so I know it does." But it's crazy how impactful the internet is. And I think that, comes with a little bit of responsibility to try to do good things. Anyway, yeah, it happens. Yeah, and cunning is in a lot of channels. So, yeah, Lori K. People in one chat will fight with the chat of another channel. So the chats are fighting while the other, the hosts, if you will, are doing whatever the hosts are doing, and a lot of times unaware that the people in their chat are fighting, but they're not fighting with somebody in their chat. They're fighting with a completely different set of chatters on a completely different channel, back and forth. It can get crazy. It can. Insanity sometimes. Yes. And I used to spend time in the BTM chat because on the YouTube platform, because it was diverse in that, a lot of different ideas. It wasn't so much an echo chamber. And I like to spend time in a chat. I like it's more relaxing to me to sit and just kind of read a chat, than to be doing what I'm doing up here at the moment. So I enjoy doing that. And I've learned a lot by doing that. And it's amazing. Like I said, it's amazing the impact that the internet has. Chatception. Yeah. In the Matrix. So before I forget, let's go to breaking news and see what the mainstream media says is up as far as headlines around mainstream. NBC News, George Santos says he'll recuse himself from his committee assignments until till everything is resolved. I'm not going to get into that too deep. CNN, Kamala Harris to attend the Tyree Nichols funeral. That's coming up this coming weekend, I think. I don't know, mate. I need to check on that. Now, after I said it, I thought, no, it's Thursday. It's day after tomorrow. But um, if somebody knows in the chat, please pop it in there for me because I'm not certain. Reuters, U.S. to end COVID-19 emergency declarations on May 9th or May 11th. We're going to go into a little more in depth on that probably tomorrow night, what that actually means. New York Times, Biden demands details on budget cuts from McCarthy. CBS News, FBI searched the Penn Biden Center in mid-November. And it just came out now. Well, that kind of balances everything out. Those that have said, the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago because of classified documents. Well, the FBI also searched the Penn Biden Center back in November and evidently also found classified documents. Washington Post, 6 of the Colorado River states agreed on water cuts. California didn't and put their agriculture first is the rest of that headline. I'm going to stop on that for just a second and touch on something. Often the concept, the words, the term, the idea of civil war gets tossed out, and especially when you hear, it might possibly seem like it might be more on the cusp when you hear violent rhetoric and when you hear threats. And just keep in mind, when you hear these threats and the threats get reported and nothing happens, it's just adding. It's just piling up until there's enough that goes, okay, this is, we need to act now. There's more than enough for a real legitimate threat. So that's how that works. But anyway, as far as civil war, water, natural resources. If the country goes to war with each other, I think there's a lot higher probability that it's over water. It's over natural resources, specifically water. But so when you hear for calls of civil war or total destruction from one side or the other, always keep in mind that while you can't discount it, always consider the sources of things and all, if you see something, say something, you hear something, say something, as far as, keeping the peace. But water, other natural resources, and specifically water, if there ever is a battle amongst ourselves, I think that might be the trigger, more so than just political rhetoric. But not that is not dangerous. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to leave the site. The funeral's tomorrow. Crap. I've got to be at the doctor tomorrow. Wednesday tomorrow. Okay, I got to be at the doctor tomorrow, so I won't be able to. I'll watch it on the phone maybe while I'm in the waiting room, but I won't be able to see it. We will report on it tomorrow night. Thank you all in the chat. Jungle Jane, Sissy. Again, things did not unfold as a lot of people presumed they would after the body cam footage came out, and I'm so glad personally that things have unfolded the way they have, and I hope they continue to. I hope it's peaceful. Things remain peaceful, and that the protests are loud enough and strong enough that get the necessary positive attention that is deserved. 10:30. Okay. All right. Okay. It is Science Tuesday. Oh, before I get into Science and Faith Tuesday, um, I might have a special interview coming up next week. I mentioned earlier GA and Cunning on tomorrow night. Thursday night, as of right now, is going to be game night. Next, one of the early days, Monday or Tuesday next week, it looks like as of right now, I might have a special guest on, and this will be a different. It'll be a different a different guest than a lot of people might be used to seeing. And I've had a lot of advice about what to do, how to do this, blah 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 blah. In all honesty, my main concern, if I take this interview, if we get this interview, if we do this interview, is that I'm going to have a song stuck in my head the whole time, and have trouble concentrating on what I'm doing. But nonetheless, we might have a special. It's looking more and more like next Monday or Tuesday night, right here live. We're going to have a special guest, and I'm not declaring anything, because I'm not going to say it's going to happen until after it's done. All right, because there's so many moving parts with all this, and it'll be kind of like if you ever saw the movie Ghostbusters, where they cross the radiation streams. It might be one of those kind of, crossing the streams kind of situation. I'm looking forward to it. I really hope it happens, and it'll be interesting. So let's start out with we're going to start out with our science here. Just a little brief, because I mentioned this last night. I mentioned it. I thought I mentioned it kind of in passing, and I didn't know if anybody even caught it or not. Somebody did and said, "Hey, what were you saying about a comet going into the sun?" Here's a little 1-minute video.
Hey everyone, this is what we're looking at today. That is a sun-diving comet set to go around our sun, or perhaps even crash into it later tonight. If it does not crash into the sun, the size of this one suggests it actually has a fairly good chance of surviving its perihelion, which means its close approach to the sun. If so, that comet tail that we're seeing on it should actually whip around to the other side. We are already seeing, I don't know if you can see this, some of the coronal mass ejections. We do often see an uptick in coronal mass ejections when we have comets that go in for a sun dive.
Okay, these things you see coming off here, these are coronal mass ejections. You'll see them coming off to both sides. And it's a good thing they're coming off to both sides. We don't want them coming at us.
We're going to keep an eye on that for more coronal mass ejections and that comet itself to see if it does in fact survive its trip around the sun. Again, that's what we're keeping an eye on here this evening.
There you go. So that's what it looks like. That's how they knew it was going to happen. And we probably know, as late as it is right now, we probably know if it did crash into the sun, or if it whipped around. But that's our first little touch of science tonight there. It might open a door to a new dimension. Who knows? We got some interesting things to think about coming up here as we get into our science. Actually, I want to pop something up here real quick. There it is. All right, I'm going to run this down at the bottom for just a little bit. Are not all legends based in fact? And do legends exist for no reason? A couple of things to think about for you all out there in chat and out there watching. Science and Faith Tuesday, what we do on here on Tuesdays. I've mentioned, I think we talked about it a little bit last Tuesday, that the Earth's inner core might have slowed. I think it was the report, or was the opinion last week. This week, a professor is going to break down on CNN why it may have stopped, and subsequently why. We reported last week that the movement of the North Pole had stopped, and it had been migrating at a steady pace for each month for a number of years, and all of a sudden it stopped. And within a relatively short time period, we get the announcement that something's going on with the inner core of the Earth. We know that because they bounce frequencies down through it, and they have a base reading, and then fluctuations. They try to guess what the fluctuations are. A lot of fluctuations going on right now. Some are saying it's the core of the Earth is slowing. Some are saying it has stopped. Some are saying it is reversing. What I'm saying is no one really knows for certain. Keep that in mind. No one really knows for certain. So don't panic over anything. This is not about panic. This is not about paranoia.
Well, this morning,
this isn't even really about, preparedness, even though, as always, it should be in the back of our minds. Something might just happen with all the crap we're going to be talking about tonight and all the things that we know are going on Earth right now. The thought of something happening is not as outlandish as it might have been 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But nonetheless, this isn't about that. This is just about a little bit of science here.
we are learning about a shift in the Earth's inner core that sounds like the plot of a Hollywood blockbuster. Scientists say our planet's solid core, which is actually disconnected from the rest of the Earth's layers, may actually have stopped rotating and could even reverse course. This is a new study. It was published Monday in the journal Nature Geoscience, and its authors, who are based in Beijing, took a very close look at the seismic waves from earthquakes that have passed through our planet's core since the 1960s, and that is how they were able to calculate the speed at which the inner core is spinning. Are you confused? I am. We're going to get to understand this a little bit better with our guest. Let's bring in Michio Kaku, who's a professor of theoretical physics at the City University of New York. Professor, good morning. Thank you.
Morning. Glad to be on.
What does this mean?
Well, at first it sounds like something from a Hollywood movie.
Right.
The script says, oh my God, the core of the Earth is spinning backwards. I mean, this is worse than having a tsunami or an earthquake. The stability of what you walk on is at stake. Now, this report comes not from Hollywood. It comes from reputable scientists at Beijing University that analyze echoes. When an earthquake takes place, shock waves go reverberating around the inside of the Earth. And by analyzing these echoes with computers, you can recreate a model of the inside of the Earth. And sure enough, the core seems to be about to spin backwards.
Okay, but I read that this happens every 70 years, so we don't need to be alarmed?
That's right. The bad news is that we know very little about the core of the Earth, very little about what's underneath our feet. The good news is probably there's nothing to worry about, in the sense that roughly every 70 years or so, we're not sure, the center of the Earth does seem to go backwards. If this is the core, this is the crust of the Earth that we live on,
yes.
This is the core of the Earth, the core could move independently of the crust. That's the key.
So the part we're on never moves in reverse.
Yeah, so the core of the Earth sits in a pool of like molasses, and it's able to spin independently of the crust of the Earth. So, in other words, don't lose any sleep over this. Probably it's a natural cycle. It takes place probably once every 70 years or so. but we need more data because this is new territory for us.
Yeah, why do we need to know? I mean, they spent a lot of time, they studied earthquakes back to the 60s. Why is it important to know more about this? What are the implications?
The implications are potentially enormous because think of continental drift. Why are the continents moving away from each other? What is driving it? And also earthquakes, the whole nature of the stability of the planet itself. We know very little about what's underneath our feet. And that's why this information from echoes, computer analyzed, is very important because it tells us the future of the Earth.
What questions, finally, Professor, does this leave you with?
Well, it leaves me with the frustration that it's under our feet. It's just, you can almost touch it, but it is thousands of miles distant, and we really don't know that much about our home. We know more about other planets than we do about the center of the Earth.
Interesting.
Like Mars, for example, is probably frozen over, not much earthquake activity at all. So we know a fair amount about Mars. We know very little about the Earth because the Earth is dynamic. Things are moving and churning at the center of the Earth. That's why we have earthquakes. That's why we have continental drift and volcanoes.
Yeah. Volcanoes, my son's favorite thing. He likes to make them with baking soda. And
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if anybody ever saw the movie Don't Look Up, but I don't know. That had a little bit of that kind of vibe to it. That hey, wouldn't lose too much sleep over it. Happens every 70 years. Honestly, we really don't know. It could be incredibly catastrophic. Yeah, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. That was tainting what you might have thought of that. Interesting. Our next little bit of science. We're going to take a trip back in the past. This is from Purdue University here in Indiana. Purdue University, known for magnificent it's true, engineering programs out of Purdue University. And what they've done is basically an AI visualization of what happened September 11th at the World Trade Center. This is not graphic. This is more, again, this is science, a little bit of engineering.
This video illustrates the efforts of a team of visualization and civil engineering researchers towards producing a high-fidelity visualization of the September 11, 2001 attack on the World Trade Center. The visualization had to be eloquent to the non-expert user. The simulation was placed into context by modeling and importing the buildings of the WTC Plaza, shown here in color, into a Google Earth model of Lower Manhattan. A finite element analysis simulation of the impact between the Boeing 767 and the top 20 floors of the North Tower was computed using a state-of-the-art simulation code. Then, the simulation results were imported into a state-of-the-art animation system where the visualization was produced. The simulation tracked the impact over 3/4 of a second real time. This sequence is 13 times slower than real time. All the animated geometry seen here was created automatically from the simulation output data. This sequence visualizes the aircraft trajectory between the facade and the structural core of the building. Notice the oscillation of the ceiling during the impact. This reverse angle shot visualizes the important damage sustained by some of the core columns. Using a camera with a distant hither plane, this sequence simultaneously visualizes the two floors that sustain most direct impact damage. Notice the right engine titanium shaft, which traverses the building virtually intact. Plane debris re-emerges on the opposite face of the building. The jet fuel in the central and two wing tanks was simulated using smoothed particle hydrodynamics, or SPH. Nearby fuel particles were lumped together in the animation system, and the fuel was rendered with reflections and refractions using a ray trace material. Notice how the wing tank fuel disperses first, as the wings are considerably damaged by the facade. The core columns are essential to the structural integrity of the building. This sequence visualizes the damage to the core columns and to their connecting horizontal beams by rendering all other entities with transparent materials. Here are the core columns exclusively. These sequences also turn out to provide a good visualization of the overall deformation of the aircraft as it enters the building. The simulation did not consider the effects of the explosion and of the ensuing fire. Here, the fuel particles were used in the animation system to automatically produce a plausible fire visualization. As can be seen in this side-by-side visualization, the simulation fuel particles control the fire computed by the animation system. Elements that undergo excessive stress are eliminated from the computation by the FEA simulation code. These eroding elements correspond to entities that disintegrate, such as a slab of concrete turning into dust. Although they do not have much relevance from the simulation standpoint, eroded elements are important for the visualization. Eroded elements are used in the animation system to automatically create and control visual effects such as dust and glass shards. The visualization produced leverages the strengths of a state-of-the-art simulation system, which models the interactions in detail based on physics' first-order principles, and of a state-of-the-art animation system, which produces a high-quality visualization of the simulation results. This was made possible by developing a scalable translator that automatically converts the simulation output data into an animation scene. The translator is general and reusable in the context of other simulations.
Oh, again, that came from Purdue University. If you want to see that, that is at you just look up Purdue WTC for World Trade Center. Hop back over here. Oh, wait. I want that right there. Okay. Hop back over here into the chat for just a minute and see what's going on. Hello, Kentucky Fried Tofu. Doesn't seem like a lot of chatting going on. Did I hold on. Why is there we go. All right. Let's do, yeah, we do it this way right here. All right. I talked about this. I teased it a little bit last night. This is a simulation of World War III, and it's an interesting. It's AI. It's a complete simulation, but it's interesting how it develops over because world wars don't just, we're used to everything happening immediately. World wars don't start at a drop of a hat. Are we in one at the moment? Are we in the beginning of the one? That's for another time. And world wars last a long time. Most wars last a long time. We are conditioned to the immediacy of things, and well, let's just take a look at this simulation.
So I've been trying for a while now to figure out how to do a World War simulator using ChatGPT. This is a chat box launched by OpenAI, and it feels like everyone is talking about it for how intelligent it can be. I mean, schools are literally trying to ban it because it's writing entire essays for people. Big thanks to Troy here for helping me come up with the prompt, because the thing is here, the AI is actually not allowed to talk about conflict and war. It was very important that we had to specify that to make sure it even worked with us. I'll of course be trying to map out all the chaos that'll be taking place in this world and try to see if we can follow along. Let's just throw it in here and see what it does. The year is 2023 and the Great Balkan War has started. Of course, another world war starting from the Balkans. The involved countries are like the typical ones, and the result is that Serbia wins, annexing Kosovo and Montenegro. Well, this is certainly a very interesting start, I have to say that. We also have a united Baltic alliance that is formed up between Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. So these three up here are now on a little team. And we also have the Anglo-American Defensive Pact between the US and the UK. Now keep in mind, this is a defensive pact, which might mean that these two countries are only going to come to each other's aid if they're invaded. It might not just be like a straight up alliance where they both declare war on the same enemy. So those are all the things that happened in 2023. Now I can choose to go to the next year, or I can ask more questions about certain events that took place. I'm just curious, who fought against Serbia in that Great Balkan War? I'm pretty sure it was probably Bosnia and North Macedonia. In the Great Balkan War, Kosovo, Montenegro, Bosnia, they fought against Serbia. So yeah, there was a huge coalition to stop them. Serbia ultimately won the war, annexing Kosovo. I see. I kind of knew that, but I wanted to see if the AI was going to like keep up. Like, I just want to know they weren't going to throw in a random country that wasn't mentioned before. So that war actually looks like this. These four nations versus Serbia, and Serbia won, getting these two. All right, let's see what happens in 2024. 2024, the Russo-Ukrainian conflict involves countries, Russia, Ukraine. Ukraine wins, annexing half of Russia. Annexed states. Oh, you're actually going to tell me oh, this is so much. How am I supposed to figure those out? We also have the alliance of the Northern European Defensive Coalition and a Mediterranean pact between Italy, Spain, Portugal, Greece, Cyprus. Okay, wait, how am I supposed to map out all of this? Can't believe it's giving me like the actual states it took. Okay, so the new borders of Eastern Europe look something like this, with Ukraine having all of like Western Russia. And we also have the North European Defensive Coalition between pretty much all of the Nordic states, well, except for Iceland, but they also get Greenland because it's under Denmark. And then there's also this Mediterranean alliance between Portugal, Spain, Italy, Greece, and Cyprus. As you can see, 2 years into it, this world is already chaos. I'm just really curious, how did Ukraine win so fast? In the fictional scenario that I'm describing, Ukraine was able to win the Russo-Ukrainian conflict by using superior tactics, strategies, as well as perhaps having more advanced military technology or larger military. It is also possible for other countries to provide assistance. That's what I was waiting for. Of course, it's also important to note that war is complex and unpredictable event, and there are often many factors that contribute. Wow. I just wanted to see like what countries maybe helped. In the Russo-Ukrainian conflict, it was not specified which countries provided support to Ukraine. I just mentioned that Ukraine was able to secure the backing of several other countries, but I did not specify. So you're not going to tell us.
You notice that the artificial intelligence that's communicating with him refers to itself as I. Something to think about.
See, I mean, maybe it was secretive. I think I can guess maybe one of the countries that helped them, though. The year is 2025. We have the Sino-Indian conflict. Countries involved China and India. That is scary. China wins, annexing half of India. Okay, that seems like it might cause a little bit of some problems. China is looking scary. And I love that Southeast Asia responded by creating their own union. Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Brunei. Now that's a union. That means that all these countries are coming together to form basically one. What a way to respond to the aggression in the north here. These guys are actually looking pretty powerful. We also have an Arabian Confederation that's formed up between Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, and Bahrain. And it's only a matter of time before these teams that are forming up, or sometimes the unions, the defensive pacts, the alliances, they're gonna start fighting each other. I just want to know if the AI would be able to give me the exact population number for this new union. It's not possible for me to predict. Okay, I was wondering. You could technically just do it all together. Oh, there it is. The population of these countries are 664. That is cool, but it is important to note that this is a rough estimate. The actual population could slightly be higher or more. That's exactly what I wanted. So we have 664 million people here, which is quite a bit. Now, not as much as how many people that are in now this new China. I'm now asking for the new Chinese population number. The AI doesn't want to give me the real number for that, though. It's probably too hard to predict because it only gave me half of India. The year is 2026, and we have the African Civil War. Involved countries Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia. Okay, it is chaotic. Ethiopia wins, annexing half of Egypt, though. We also have now an alliance forming in that continent, and then the pack of Central American countries. So these are the involved nations in that African conflict. I guess they're not going to take anything from Sudan. They're just going to take the coast of Egypt. Very interesting team that formed up in the western part of Africa. We have Nigeria, Senegal, Liberia, Sierra Leone.
One other thing I'd like to point out is while the young man is rapidly getting us through this, and I greatly appreciate that, he keeps referring to things as teams, and I don't think he's had a lot of experience with serious wars, or maybe that's how things are going to be put out to the public from now on, so that war becomes more palatable, because we're thinking of teams.
Ghana, that was just, they're not all together, which I kind of like. I like that they're not all bordering. It makes it a little more dynamic. And we have a huge Central American team that is formed up, probably to counteract the U.S. in the north. So again, here is a list of all the changes that have happened so far. 2027, the war for...
And we can, hang on, get back to it.
They annexed half of Brazil. They win the World Cup, and now this. They're a little bit too cocky. Safe to say, since there is a Caribbean pact that just formed up, Puerto Rico has gone independent, since Puerto Rico is technically a part of the U.S. We also have a nice East Africa Federation. Maybe they're a little bit afraid of Ethiopia and all the aggression they've done. Argentina looking very thick down here. So the Great North American War. Oh, this one's going to be huge. Results: the U.S. annexed half of Canada. I just need to have the AI specify for me. So the U.S. fought against Canada and Mexico. Since Mexico was a part of that team, did other Central American nations join that? I realize the nations that are winning in these military conflicts are not getting the exact states that they're telling me, but as the game continues to progress, it's not going to matter that much because the borders are going to continue to change. Wouldn't be surprised if the U.S. just annexes all of Canada next. At least what I'm hoping for, but I don't know. And we also have a unified Oceania with, basically Australia, New Zealand. There's a bunch of tiny islands, but I don't think that matters that much. Actually, they have Papua New Guinea as well. We have the War of 2029, the Great Eurasian War, involved countries Russia, China, India, Iran, Turkey, and China has just annexed the other half of Russia. I actually feel like Russia still exists. They just annexed 50% of the already 50% of annexed Russia. I'm actually not surprised at all after they took an L from Ukraine in the west. Of course, they were going to take an L from China in the east. China fought against Russia, India, Iran, and Turkey. It was all by themselves. We also have the second African Civil War. I love that they're keeping track of that. Once again, Ethiopia involved. Now Egypt wins, annexing half of Ethiopia. Wait, so how exactly does that work? I don't really know, but all right. It looks like ketchup and mustard. The Great Middle Eastern War, Iran, Turkey, Saudi Arabia. We have the result: Saudi Arabia wins, annexing all of Iran. Okay, well, that is easy enough to do. We also have the Second Great North American War, where the U.S. pretty much annexed everything, Canada and Mexico. And that is exactly why I did not draw the borders perfectly, because I figured this was going to happen. That saved me a lot of time. So this poor Central American alliance has really just gone down to the smaller places without Mexico involved. We also have this huge North American Union. Did the UK help out with this? I wonder. It says they didn't actually get any specified assistance from the UK during that event. Okay, and now China has annexed the remaining part of all of Russia and India and Pakistan. China's going nuts. So all of Russia, all of India, all of Pakistan, all of Kazakhstan, all of Kyrgyzstan. Did they get all of Central Asia? Yeah, they got all four of these nations here. What is going on in China? Okay, who is going to stop all of this? I mean, maybe North America over here. It's now 2035, the Great African War. We have Egypt annexing all of Ethiopia. So overall, they have won out in Ethiopia. We also have a Great South American War. Brazil annexed all of, and then Brazil has come back in South America too. Egypt just completely wiped out this entire federation right here. Egypt's doing their own strategy here in Africa. I just want to know if the AI knows what Congo exactly. They annexed the Congo. There are two countries in Africa that are named Congo, but in this case, it was the country located in Central Africa, also known as the DRC. That is crazy. Democratic People's Congo is located in Central Africa. Okay, so they specifically mentioned the Democratic Republic of Congo, not the Congo Republic, which is smart because I think that connects all their territory. They got Angola, Namibia, South Africa. So Egypt has their own little British empire going on, like imperialization. Once again, the AI has completely wiped out an entire faction. Brazil was really angry, I guess. And then this union broke out into a civil war. It's no longer the union anymore. Vietnam annexed Thailand. They pretty much won ownership of the entire union, and they also got the Philippines included. This is clearly gone worldwide at this point. Like, the AI is simulating 3 different wars at a time. Same thing thing has happened. Australia has taken over that alliance down there in the corner. We don't have to change anything for that. The Great European War, the UK, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Portugal. Okay, that is a lot. And Germany is basically going into no German territory, I think. Germany annexed all of the UK, France, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Belgium, Luxembourg, the Netherlands. Okay, so this entire alliance is gone. We can just wipe that out. Also, Ireland's gone. Also, the UK is gone. Also, France is gone. I'm going to say that Greenland is not annexed by...
Sorry to pause this, but just something popped into my head. For those of you that might be thinking, nothing like this is ever going to happen. No, this is, you're right. It is a simulation. Chances are that if anything does happen, it plays out like this, relatively small. The thing to remember is when you say, that can't happen, one country taking over another country, that can't happen. Right now, the conflict in Central Europe, Eastern Europe, between Ukraine and Russia is based on the fact that one day Russia came in and took Ukrainian territory. And all of a sudden, the people there were now Russian citizens. And yes, there was a vote. There were also a lot of people that voted at gunpoint, allegedly. Just something to think about as we watch. This is developing rapidly, thankfully, because that's why I picked it, because it gets us through it fairly quickly. Let's watch the rest of it, and then I'll comment.
By Germany, it's just now independent. So this is what the new Germans look like, which they need to do something because they need to stop what's happening here in China. I just have to ask the AI about Switzerland. A series of fictional events that have taken place in this exercise. Switzerland has not been mentioned as a participant in any wars or has been annexed by any countries. They've remained neutral, of course. I want to make sure they added that word specifically. Oh yeah, China also got all of the Koreas, Mongolia, Japan, and Taiwan back. Oh, not the whole ocean, just Taiwan. Let's see, without simulating any more who the AI would predict is the strongest nation on Earth right now. They're gonna go with the easy answer. It's too many factors: military capabilities, economic power, things like that. Make sure we have a climactic ending. I'm going to make sure we have all of the great powers in the world form up.
Okay. Economics. Always think money. Always think money. Economic bloc. 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 It's not about people.
A massive world war and see who comes out on top. We have Brazil, the USA, Germany, China, and then Egypt. There's a couple more in here, but they're random factions. I guess Vietnam is a great power. Let's just see who controls the world at the end of the game. In a series of fictional events that have taken place in this exercise, a number of countries that have won wars in which they have participated in annexed countries. However, it's not possible. Just pick one. It doesn't want to help me with this. Oh, the exercise has just come to an end. I didn't have the scenario where I just straight up asked him, like, no, just decide who wins. And then he just picked, let's say, the North American Alliance emerges victorious. There's some sort of British South Asian alliance going on. I don't know. Every time I do this, like, it's chaotically different. This time he just said he can't simulate past 2037 and he won't even give me a winner anymore. But I guess it could be the North American Alliance, whatever that means. Escaped British people that ran away after Germany invaded the island, and it's like Canadians in Mexico. Let me know if you'd like to see more simulations in ChatGPT in the future. And big thing.
Again, we're just giving you things to think about on a Science and Faith Tuesday night. That was a simulation of what might happen if World War III ever does happen, because it'll take some time. Hello, Star Fox. And see if anybody else popped in here. Judy Davis, hello, good evening to you as well. Thanks for being here. Thank you all for being here. Okay, this is, now if we do not have, I kind of teased that we might have a guest next week. If we do, and it's on Tuesday, I won't be doing this. If I have my guest come in on Monday, then next Tuesday night, we're gonna get in depth a little bit with this. Wait a minute, what happened? Okay, there we go. We're going to get in depth a little bit with this. It's from the Y files.
We only learned about it a few years ago when it was declassified. But the CIA only released 57 pages.
Hold on a second. Let's start from the scratch. Here we go.
In 1966, a well-known scientist released a book with information that could impact everyone on Earth. But before anyone could read it, it was classified by the CIA. We only learned about it a few years ago when it was declassified. But the CIA only released 57 pages of the original 284-page manuscript. And those pages have been, in the CIA's own words, sanitized. Now, why does the CIA think this book is so dangerous that they had to hide it from the public for 60 years and continue to hide most of it? Well, it's because the man who wrote it describes the end of the world.
Okay, so that's what we're going to do next Tuesday night. If we do not have a guest, that will be our science part of next Tuesday night, as a little bit of a tease there. If we don't have our guest, I've touched on the pole shift and touched briefly on it when we talked about the what's going on with the core of the Earth potentially. Much the same thing is true as far as climate and the poles. Much the same as with the inner core, much the same with, as the professor said in that piece, we know more about other planets than we know about our own. And that ought to be a little bit of a wake up call to people that, hey, we need to pay more attention. As far as what climate and the pole shifts, climate change, that I'm showing you this to show you the different opinions that are out there. Climate change is literally shifting Earth's axis. Climate change moved the North Pole. What will happen when Earth's North and South Pole flip? What's the riskiest region in the U.S. as the climate changes? What makes Earth's magnetic field change? That's another thing that he didn't get into about the inner core of the Earth and how the impact on our magnetic field. Of course, that was, he didn't have a lot of time, but nonetheless, something significant. So you see, just like what I'm doing, I'm telling you that these things are going on. And I'm also telling you that what it appears to me is nobody knows for sure what's going to happen. And to me, that is a significant sign that, maybe we ought to be working together more than, finding ways to cohabitate, coexist, instead of trying to find ways to kill each other, because Mother Nature might just be having plans of her own as far as killing a bunch of people, Just something to think about. Now, one of the things you will hear when you hear about the pole shifting, when you hear about the climate changes, one of the terms you will hear is the Noah event. Okay, this is our transition from science into faith. You'll hear the Noah event tossed around along with climate change and the poles moving. What is the Noah event? It is the event that happened that was chronicled in the Jewish, Christian, and Muslim faiths as a flood with a man on a ship with a whole bunch of animals and a very few number of people named Noah. That is the Noah event. It is thought that the last time the poles flipped, the last time we had such a polar excursion, matched up with other things coming from space and what's going on in the core. And you heard him talk about plate shifts. That's possibly a scientific explanation to a moment that we consider faith-based in the story of Noah, a scientific explanation for how it could have happened, as well as a pretty good lineup, lining up pretty well as far as when it happened. Just again, something to think about. You will hear that term more than likely. And speaking of Noah and Noah's Ark, the real Noah's Ark found by archaeologists. This was 4 years ago. Archaeologists are 99% sure they found Noah's Ark, and that was 1 year ago. Now, finally confirmed 1 month ago, archaeologists found the real Noah's Ark, and 2 weeks ago, explorers reveal. My gosh, this thing is so touchy. Explorers reveal the location of Noah's Ark. So, while it is a book of faith, there are an awful lot of people wanting to put proof to it. Just something to think about. I'm going to hop back over here into the chat. Thomas O'Keefe, what's going on? Not a lot happening in chat at the moment. Star Fox, watching people win or fail. Hecklefish. All right. Okay, I'm just going to keep going here. I'm going to touch on just I'm going to touch on something just briefly. Last week, as far as faith, I touched on the Sermon on the Mount from Jesus from the book of Matthew, chapters 5 through 7, and I brushed over chapter 5 and part of chapter 6, and I had a couple of people say, would you just go back and read chapter 7, because it completes the Sermon on the Mount, and it is also it's an extension of the definition of Christianity as far as what Jesus lays out for us to follow. Now, it's also good knowledge to have to show somebody that claims Christianity that what they are doing actually isn't, especially with all the public prayer. We touched on that a lot last week. Chapter 7, verse 1, book of Matthew starts out, "Judge not, that you be not judged." Sounds pretty simple. Judge not, that you be not judged. These are the words of Jesus. "For with what judgment you judge, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you." So often our friend Sparky, BTM Sparky, talks about boomerangs and how whatever you put out is going to come back to you. Very similar to what we have just said here. For with what judgment you judge, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. Verse 3 says, and why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye and do not consider the plank in your own eye? What's that mean? Well, that means why do you want to pick at somebody else's imperfections, which may be, in this case, a speck, when you have a giant plank in your own eye, when you have such imperfections yourself to work on? It's one of those, if you're not perfect, then don't be pointing other people's imperfections out, basically. It's Christianity. All of this is basic Christianity. And so many times we see people that want to claim the label of Christianity, want to say, yeah, I'm a Christian. I go to church. I'm a Christian. And I hate anybody that, verse 4, or how can you say to your brother, let me remove the speck from your eye, and look, a plank is in your own eye? Hypocrite, first remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Verse 6, do not give what is holy to the dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you in pieces. For those of you that don't know about wild pigs, they can turn and tear you to pieces in a heartbeat. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. Or what man is there among you who, if his son asks for bread, you give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, you give him a serpent? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Therefore, whatever you want men to do to you, do also to them, for this is the law and the prophets. Enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction. And there are many who go by, because narrow is the gate, and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit will be cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits you will know them. In other words, you can judge a person's character if you are observant enough. Therefore, by the fruits you will know them. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. It's a very important phrase. So many, again, the label Christian, so many think that means, well, they can do whatever they want, because they're forgiven, or strict, terse reminder from the words of Jesus. And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. Therefore, whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain descends and floods came and the winds blew and they beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. But everyone who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew, and they beat on the house, and it fell, and its fall was great. And so it was, when Jesus had ended these sayings, that the people were astonished at his teachings, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. The word of the Lord. That's the 7th chapter. That's the end of the what we began last week with the Sermon on the Mount, and those 2 chapters, 5 through 7 of Matthew, basically lays out, in the words of Jesus, what the definition of a Christian is, what the expectations are, not from other human beings, if you believe spiritually, but from the Son of God, Jesus. Those words should have more significance than others, and it's just something to think about. All right. Thank you, Mater. It's not, it's not my truth. Okay. I'm just putting the words out there. This isn't in no way, shape, or form about me. So that kind of wraps us up for a Tuesday night. I'll tell you what, I ended up just about 8 minutes, now 7 minutes before I intended to. So I've still got this up. I didn't close this down. Let's go watch one of these briefly. One of these Noah's Ark. No, wait.
I want to tell you a story.
Hang on. What happened to the one that was a couple of weeks ago? Where did that go? 28 minutes ago. The end is near. This is how you prepare. That's this video right here. A lot of those on the internet lately. Next week, in the faith part of it, again, if I don't have a guest, in the faith part of it, I'm going to talk about the signs. Again, we're going to talk about the words of Jesus, not not man. Okay, let's just watch this one. I think this one's like 9 minutes.
Researchers feel very...
I think this one is 9 minutes. Okay, hold on. I thought we had a commercial to start this. 12 minutes. All right, we'll see how this goes. I have not seen this. It's this is going to be a reaction portion of the episode tonight, and we'll see. We may not get all the way through this.
Researchers feel very confident that they've finally found the location of Noah's Ark. Previously, the Ark had been lost to time, though we believed it had likely washed ashore on a mountain range in Turkey. There's still a lot of skepticism about whether or not this incredible find truly is Noah's Ark, but researchers remain strong in their faith that the remnants they've found truly belong to Noah and his famous Ark. The story of Noah's Ark has fascinated researchers and common folk for thousands of years, with the Bible's stories about Noah and his life-saving boat floating around all across the world. Countless people have been wondering how large this boat must have been, and how a single man and his family would have been able to recruit 2 of every animal in the world and live on this boat for more than 1 month. According to biblical history, Noah was chosen by God. God wanted him to build a large boat for himself, his family, and 2 of each animal. God believed the world had
Pretty sure nobody had suits on either. But hang on just a second. It sure looked like, and it was supposed to be Noah and his family alone on the ark, but it looks like there's a whole lot of people out there on the ark, and some of them are wearing suits.
month. According to biblical history, Noah was chosen by God. God wanted him to.
Isn't this guy wearing a suit? This guy. Okay, all right. We'll give it a chance. I'm not gonna cynically poo-poo it immediately.
Build a large boat for himself, his family, and 2 of each animal. God believed the world had fallen into evil ways and that there was no chance at redemption. Because of this, he commanded a flood to pour across the earth, killing everyone except those who were on the ark. After the flood subsided, the Bible explains that it most likely struck land in the mountains of Ararat, in an area that is now Turkey. This story has been told in both the Old Testament and New Testament, with countless ancient civilizations telling a similar story of a great flood that only had a handful of survivors. But have scientists finally found the first pieces of physical evidence that prove this boat was real? Before we get started, be sure to hit that like button and ring the notification bell for more videos. Noah's Ark and the importance of it in religion. Noah's Ark is one of the most widely discussed stories in world history. What makes the Ark particularly interesting is that it has not only been spoken of in the Christian Bible, but also in texts from Judaism and Islam. On top of this, the Sumerians, also known as the people of Shinar, spoke of a great flood as well. By all means, this flood does seem to have taken place a few thousand years ago, but scientists and researchers have questioned the validity of these texts.
It's the flood of Gilgamesh. And it is odd that so many different faiths have this story, and then we are now scientifically noticing that the last time we had a major climate situation, as we may be going into now, was about the same time the last pole excursions, as are going on now. And maybe it really is justification that there was indeed a massive flood and very few survivors. And that is one of the potential scenarios that scientists are discussing could potentially happen here. The magnetic field drastically reduces. We become incredibly vulnerable to solar influences, and ice rapidly melts and water levels rapidly rise. A little tilt of the earth here and massive tidal waves traveling all across Earth.
Until now, many researchers wondered if a ship of this size and construction would have been able to survive a mass flood. Others also wondered how the ship could have been large enough to fit so many animals, though experts are now convinced that the story is true after finding what they believe to be the remains of Noah's Ark in a mountain range in Turkey. Noah's Ark in the mountains of Ararat. Sometime around April of 2010, a team of Chinese researchers announced that they had found the wreckage of Noah's Ark in the Turkish mountains of Ararat, just like the historical texts claimed. This 15-person team of researchers says they are 99.9% certain of their discovery, saying that the only possibility for these remains is that they would have belonged to Noah's Ark. The team researching the finding held a press conference and detailed how they'd found a scrap of wood and pieces of a rope that likely would have been used on the Ark. They took extensive photos and videos from the wreckage and shared them with those around the world who tuned in to learn more about this discovery. A team of scientists from a Christian organization known as Noah's Ark Ministries International also claimed to have found a larger structure of the ship at around 4,000 meters above sea level in the mountains of Ararat. To put that into
Here's one thing you need to do before you buy anything online. Don't spend another dime on Amazon until you watch this first.
Nah. But thank you. All right, there's a little tease there in case you're interested. You can go. There's some videos that say Noah's Ark has been found. It's a shame he bought 2 mosquitoes along with him. I'll second that, Mater. All right. Hey, we will be back tomorrow night. GA from CA and Cunning Stunt will be with us. Give us a report. Catch us up on what's been going on in the 1776 and opposition realm, as well as, of course, we'll have our we'll have news ahead of that, and then Thursday night will be game night. We'll have news ahead of that. Thursday night will be game night as it sits right now. Of course, when you're on the internet, you got to be flexible because things can happen. Things pop up, things happen because real life happens. Yeah, what are you going to do? All right, so thank you for being here. Hey, thank you, Jungle Jane. Good vibes to you as well. Sissy, thank you. Sable, everybody out there watching, thank you so very much. If you're watching live, if you're watching on replay, or, if you're over here in the chat, thank you, Mater. Thank you all. It is always greatly appreciated. And I know that talking about faith, I know that turns a lot of people off. I'm not doing it to intentionally turn people off. I'm doing it because there's enough people that need to hear it every once in a while that don't have a place. So we're going to do it once a week. And, I hope if you're interested, you'll come. And if you're not, you'll tell somebody that might be interested if you yourself don't. So, but it's not just going to be me reading the Bible and talking, like I've said, we're going to have Telescope on here, who's an atheist and believes in humanism. And we're going to look at, we're going to do some comparison and contrast about how far off beliefs really are, when at times the labels that are placed tend to separate things possibly a whole lot wider than they might be. And we're going to be exploring that with our Tuesday nights as well. So Mavis, thank you for being here. Stagecoach Rider, always be kind. Judy Davis, again, thank you all for being here. Namaste, shalom, salam, assalamu alaikum. Blessings in the name of the Most High from his Son Christ Jesus with the power of the Holy Spirit. Positive vibes to all of you. Much love. Peace. We'll see you tomorrow night beginning at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the American DUFUS